Here's something really cool. The way that Pokemon spawn in the overworld can be manipulated in a couple of different ways, and that is what we are going to explore in today's video. So the first thing I want to show off is what happens when we move a Pokemon like Trevenant into the first slot of our party. So right now, it's snowing in the Dapple Grove. That means we are going to have a lot of Delibird spawns, and it's only a 5% chance to get a Nuzleaf spawn. Well, now we have a Nuzleaf over there, we have a Nuzleaf over there, another Nuzleaf, and another Nuzleaf. Something crazy is going on, and that goes into one of the changes that we've seen for a couple of different abilities in Pokemon Sword and Shield. Now, a few of you guys might be familiar with this, but we can even take it a step further. However, not everyone knows about these changes, so I do want to cover them as well. Harvest now causes Grass-type Pokemon to spawn more frequently. It increases their spawn rate by 50%. Same thing with Storm Drain and Water Pokemon, Lightning Rod and Electric Pokemon, and Flash Fire with Fire Pokemon. Now the Flash Fire one is probably the most well-known because you can actually get the 1% spawn for Sizzlipede to appear 50%, I believe, on Route 3 as you are heading to the Galar Mines. So people that just happen to capture Vulpix, start training them in like the first slot of their party, well, they would actually get the Sizzlipede at a much higher rate instead of making it nearly impossible. So those very rare Pokemon spawns, as long as they are fire, electric, water, or grass types, can actually be manipulated pretty well. Now, there is a weird thing going on with Harvest, because I know there's going to be a lot of comments like, hey, how do I get a Harvest Pokemon? Well, it's only a hidden ability, and the only Pokemon that can get in Pokemon Sword and Shield is going to be Phantump and Trevenant, so you have to do those through certain max raid battles. Those are going to be the rare battles, but if you've done enough of them, then you'll eventually end up with a Harvest Pokemon, or if you get a Reject that has it, so that's going to be the only tricky one. All the other ones, like Storm Drain, Shellos, easy, Rhydon with Lightning Rod. Also, static Pokemon have the same effect, and then Vulpix Flash Fire. If you've just picked up a Vulpix, it probably has Flash Fire, so we can do some pretty cool things and force spawn rare Pokemon. But now, this is where the interactions inside of Pokemon Sword and Shield get kind of weird, because we can also synchronize the Pokemon that are being force spawned. So this is just going into a quirk about how Pokemon Sword and Shield works. Let's go, encounter this Nuzleaf, throw a Quick Ball, catch it, you know, all of that good stuff. And let's grab another one just to be safe. So what I'm trying to do is force change the Pokemon's nature with the Synchronize ability, which also means that this is a Synchronize guide for Pokemon Sword and Shield. I'm going to show you guys the natures that you need, how to get Munna, how to set up the Synchronize, as well as these other natures that change the way Pokemon spawn. I think it's just better to put it all into one video. So if you've been looking for that, or if you have a friend that's been looking for that, here you go. Please like and share. It really helps out. So what we have here is a Brave Nature Munna. Plus attack, minus speed, and the Nuzleaf we got, plus attack, minus speed, but just in case we're playing with that RNG, plus attack, minus speed. So even though the Pokemon was already spawned in the overworld, even by another ability, we still can manipulate that. And I think that is really cool because we can actually apply two abilities onto one Pokemon. So this gives us some pretty interesting insight into how Pokemon spawn in Sword and Shield, but this is also kind of already understood because of shiny hunting in the games. So if you encounter Pokemon, you can get extra shiny rolls. So if you've battled 500 of a species, then they have a 6 times likelihood of being shiny. Also, you can add more rolls onto that with something like the Shiny Charm, and it's also been explained through just understanding how the shiny spawning works, that if a Pokemon is meant to be shiny on spawn, that's just the way that it's going to be. So if we look in the overworld right now, there could actually just be a naturally spawned shiny Pokemon right there. But if I have done these other methods to increase my chances of getting shiny, if I say encounter this and it's not meant to be shiny, but then it's forced to be shiny, that's going to be a different encounter, and that's what we're doing with the Synchronize. So the Pokemon is naturally being spawned by the ability, but any other effects onto that Pokemon are applied when the encounter is generated, not when the Pokemon itself is generated. So we have two cases for shiny Pokemon. Shiny that are already generated in the overworld, they give stars 15/16 of a time, and square stars 1/16, and then shinies which are regenerated when you encounter them, forcing the PID to change, which means that the game forces them to be shiny after any influence. Now, this is not the first time we have seen this happen inside of Pokemon. With Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire, the Dex Nav actually forces a Pokemon to be shiny if you get the extra shiny rolls from encountering the Pokemon through the Dex Nav, but this is just kind of taking it to the next level because we have Overworld Pokemon. And also, with a game like Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee, we didn't have abilities, so we couldn't find out how these new ability interactions worked if Game Freak wanted to program them in, or how Synchronize would have affected Pokemon spawns. So now let's go into the Synchronize guide part of this video, and the first thing we're going to need to do is set our date to foggy weather, which is going to be June 6th, 2020. A lot of you guys already know about this one, and it just doesn't seem like there's any kind of crazy time penalty. Also, there's ways of undoing time penalties inside the game. So yeah, now we're going to have foggy weather. And if we go to East Lake Axwell, so what we have over here is like, that's Motostoke. You go over here to the left, and then this is going to be tons of Munna spawns. Also, what we learned from the guide for shiny Pokemon on the official website is that if you encounter a Pokemon, that Pokemon is going to be more common to appear for a short period of time. So once you catch your first Munna, you're just going to have tons and tons of Munna. Now what you want to do is just catch as many of these as possible. Now the problem is they can have the forewarn ability, but a good thing is it will tell you if it has forewarn or not. So Mist swirls around, then forewarn activates, and then we'll know that this is not a Munna worth catching. But if it doesn't have that, then that means it will be a synchronized Pokemon. Unfortunately, we can't do anything else outside that. We can just catch all the synchronized Munna and then hope we get the abilities that we are looking for. There's no way to like just force abilities without synchronize. That's why we're catching these synchronized Pokemon. However, depending on how you value certain competitive Pokemon, like if you're going for a competitive Munna, you might not want to use an Everstone. That way you can just get a ton of Munna and then see the ones that have Synchronize, and then you'll have just like a lot of random abilities while you're already doing something else. And then if you get the competitive Munna that you're looking for, or a shiny one for the Musharna, then you can just use a Nature Mint, and then that Pokemon's going to be good, while you also have all these Synchronize for catching future Pokemon, for setting up, for breeding, and all kinds of other fun stuff like that. So yeah, you're going to want to keep catching Munna until your PC box looks something like this, just to make sure that you have all of the natures that you need covered. So we're going to have plus attack minus speed, plus attack minus special attack, and then it's just going to be inverse. We're going to have plus special attack minus attack, plus special attack minus speed. That's going to be it for the offensive side. Defensively, we're going to need both of the offenses as well as speed reduced. So defense, special defense, we have that covered. And then speed, we have Jolly Nature, we have Timid Nature, and then we have like a Hasty or a Naive Nature. I don't think that you need both, and also because like Dynamaxing, the Dex Cut, and a lot of other weird interactions I've observed in Pokemon Sword and Shield, I haven't really seen a case for any mixed sweepers for a Hasty or Naive Nature, so it's not super needed. But if you end up with one of these that's like plus speed minus special defense or plus speed minus defense, then I guess hold on to it in case a really weird set pops into your mind. But for the most part, you're not going to need too many Munna, and I like having them organized like this. So we have attack, defense, special attack, special defense, speed, and then depending on how like meticulous and sloppy you are, I could just do this, you know. So now it's my special attack's here, my attack is here, just kind of going in the stat order and then making everything all good and nice. Now you might notice I have some other Pokemon hanging around, and that's because there's even more abilities that causes changes to the wild Pokemon that are spawned. Now, the big ones are going to be Harvest, Storm Drain, you know, the ones I talked about earlier, and the weird thing is, Magnet Pull is not in Pokemon Sword and Shield, so we would have a way of affecting Steel-type Pokemon, but until, I guess Meltan, so I mean, if you have a Meltan and then transfers over, or if we get a Meltan event after Pokemon Home, that is going to be good, but don't evolve into Melmetal, because then that's not going to work. But Alolan Geodude, Magnemite, Magneton, Nosepass, all those Pokemon, they're not in, so Magnet Pull doesn't really exist. So it's kind of lame, because it would be really nice to spawn Duraludon easier, since it's like a 1% Steel-type Pokemon spawn. There's also a few other Pokemon that you could just get a bit more guaranteed, and then that's how you get the nature. So, you know, you just look for the rare Pokemon, and then you can synchronize with it, and now you have a Pokemon that's ready to breed. You give the Everstone for the nature with your Ditto, boom, GG, easy, competitive Pokemon just like that, by getting these effects to stack on top of themselves. So let's talk about some other useful abilities and ability changes. So we have Super Luck. Super Luck is now compoundized by effect. So what it means is that you can get wild held items off Pokemon more commonly. So like those rare 5% chance held items, those become 20% chance with a Super Luck Pokemon in your party. It's not a new effect because it was already Compound Eyes, but at least there's more accessibility. This is something maybe to take in consideration if you are doing a playthrough of Pokemon Sword and Shield. You end up with a Super Luck Pokemon. I don't know. It's just neat. Like, it's just more accessibility, but it isn't like a massive change. And then we have Cute Charm and Sticky Hold. These have effectively always been this way. So Sticky Hold increases your success rate when fishing, and there is chain fishing in Pokemon Sword and Shield. So that's nice. Just grab a Shellos, get Sticky Hold, easy, just like that. And then Cute Charm makes it to where there is a 66% chance that the Pokemon you encounter is going to be opposite gender of the Cute Charm Pokemon. So ideally you want a male and a female for Cute Charm. Need to add that to my little summon box over here, so that's going to be a thing. Now, there's also 3 abilities that affect wild Pokemon, but I don't really see how it works with the overworld spawns. So Hustle makes it to where Pokemon of a higher level are more likely to spawn. That can work in certain areas, like on routes, but it doesn't really work in the wild area because all Pokemon in the wild area are going to be level 60 regardless. However, I have had a really interesting theory craft with the Hustle ability because it might make Brilliant Aura Pokemon more common. These wonderful Pokemon are known as Brilliant Pokemon, and you'll find that they're typically a higher level than average Pokemon in the area. So if Hustle causes, higher level Pokemon to spawn, then that means it might make these higher level Brilliant Pokemon more common. I've been doing some testing, and the problem is that Brilliant Pokemon are just very uncommon to begin with. It's like a base 1.5% chance to spawn, and then it doubles to 3%. So even if Hustle increases that by 50%, we're looking at a 3% difference versus a 4.5% difference, which is going to be negligible, and since they are that rare to begin with, getting hundreds and hundreds of Brilliant Aura Pokemon as some kind of control to figure it out, that's going to be pretty challenging. Like, maybe it's something that's been overlooked or undocumented in the data mines. Maybe the reason why we aren't hearing about it being a good way of force spawning Brilliant Pokemon is because the data mine has confirmed that it doesn't do anything, but no one's really talking about it like that. Either way, if you are going for Brilliant Pokemon, maybe just like throw a Hustle into your first slot. Even if it's fainted Pokemon, all of these effects still apply. So if you have like a synchronized Pokemon level 1 that's fainted, you're still going to have that ability effect as long as it's in the first slot of your party. So it doesn't hurt to do that. If I'm onto something, then that means you have a slightly better chance of getting Brilliant Aura Pokemon. And then we have the White Smoke ability and Arena Trap. Now these also share with some other abilities. Arena Trap makes it to where Pokemon are going to be more common. So if we just kind of swap this in, and then White Smoke is going to make it to where Pokemon are less common. However, because of spawn cap and spawn limits, maybe the Pokemon spawn slightly faster, but it doesn't really change the amount of Pokemon that you're going to find in the wild area. So I mean, that's just a lot of Munna. However, we've been seeing a lot of Munna the entire time. So now let's go despawn those guys, switch in the Torkoal for the White Smoke. And like that's also like a thing that we saw this for the random encounters. When it comes to random encounters in older Pokemon games, yeah, it's pretty nice if you can actually get more Pokemon when you want them, or you can keep Pokemon off of you when you're not looking to be flooded by random encounters nonstop. However, it looks like these Munna are just popping up just as much, and they're still all over the place, and then there's still other Pokemon on the grass. So it doesn't even look like it reduces the spawn cap, which means inversely, Arena Trap doesn't seem to increase the spawn cap. That would maybe be useful if you were like targeting specific Pokemon and you didn't want too many of them spawning, or maybe if like, we still don't know about chaining. We still don't know if encountering a different Pokemon breaks the chain. So if it did work that way, then maybe a White Smoke Pokemon would be better to not accidentally screw it up, but it doesn't really look like there's any kind of changes, and that kind of does it for all of the ability manipulation inside the game. But I think the biggest discovery here is that you can use the type affecting abilities with Synchronize, which might also lead to some other interesting discoveries in the future about manipulating Pokemon spawns. Also, I just kind of wish that Game Freak did it for more typings or every typing in the game. That would be really sick if you can get like any type Pokemon to be more common through the use of abilities. Maybe we'll see that in the future. Maybe we'll have something to keep an eye out and keep testing, and maybe there'll be a way of like even getting better effects out of this at some point. But this is how it works in Pokemon Sword and Shield right now. So if you guys enjoy the video, hope you have a nice day. Thank you very much for watching.